Well, okay, we looked at our number one agency. If we look at Boys and Girls Club, my only disadvantage to giving them more is that they have the financial resources there, which I think they could stand to hit better than anybody else. Now they did pick up more sites and they're trying to do an additional 300 kids.
And I don't think we can penalize them for being able to actually kind of save some because, I mean,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just kind of feel like, that it is good to see that they've actually got something. I've been in a nonprofit and I know that sometimes you're lucky enough to get enough to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but for them to have a little bit and actually be able to um, invest in the kids and giving them more supervision is critical, especially with the kids that they're dealing with.
The only reason I say that, I don't want to penalize them. I'm just saying their financial resources give them a little bit of a cushion. I think Big Brothers and Big Sisters does too, to a certain extent, because they've done a good job with fundraising.
Mhm.
I don't want to hurt an
Right.
agency, but an agency that doesn't have as many resources is something to consider too. And just because we've funded all these agencies at their previous level does not mean we can't go back and decide we want to cut a little bit of them as well. So it's something to also consider. We just use that as a starting point.
Right.
So now remember, Big Brothers, Big Sisters said, I'm sorry, Boys and Girls Club said that their best case scenario, worst case scenario, they could survive with $230,000. Remember that from the application, section 4?
Yeah.
And they said during the presentation that if something happened, they wouldn't let any kids suffer. So I think they have resources. If we want to benefit them because they're our number one agents, would anybody be uncomfortable putting them at 215?
What about this, William? If we add $6,000 to Oasis, Sister, Love by Jesus, and the Boys and Girls Club, we'll have given Boys and Girls Club more than their funding last year, and given Oasis Center and Big Brothers Big Sisters level funding, and gotten pretty close to Love by Jesus.
I do want you guys just to remind you guys that the award letters that you have, we may have to go. If you're not speaking, please mute yourselves if you're not speaking. But I think you need to remind yourselves of the award letters that you just developed, because if we go for an appeal and you could have an appeal on this team, that becomes public information. And I do want you to be mindful. So go back and look at the evaluation, because there were some harsh comments. There were, and even with as much as I think Big Brothers and Sisters is a wonderful, you gave them 2 major findings in the award letter. So if you try to increase money, you're going to have to realize that all of that is considered. The fact that they did not give you a salary information worksheet or outcome for that last year. So just be mindful. And I don't know. So just be mindful of some of the comments that you put in there in alignment with your recommendation, so that we can honor what you just did.
And I was going to echo that, because at the end of the day, just because they're a great organization, it doesn't matter which one we're talking about. There's at some point we have to have some accountability for them doing not a good job on the application. It just is.
But the way I'm looking at it is we're comparing them to some organizations or agencies that just didn't describe their program for us to even really evaluate it. I mean, that's what we're comparing them against. So they might have some technical deficiencies in their application, but we're comparing whether we should fully fund them versus giving any funding to another organization that we ranked so low because they weren't even able to adequately describe their program. I feel comfortable in the face of an appeal, looking at it from that standpoint.
We were looking at, okay, let's go back to the original question then. So do we want to go with our number one agency? Do we want to give them more money at this time, or are we comfortable at 202? Because I was trying to take them to 210 or 215 because they're our number one agency. And of all the agencies, they probably had the best overall application. Are we comfortable leaving them at 202? And remember, this is not, just because they got money last year does not mean they have, or 2 years ago does not mean they're guaranteed to get money going forward. This is not a base. Everybody technically.
Now I'm comfortable with leaving them at 202. I'm comfortable leaving them at current funding level.
Does anybody want to give them an increase? Kevin?
Would, I mean, but not, I'm not looking to fully fund them. I think a slight increase because they're our number one agency and it looks like we're going to have some money left over. They seem to be the one that would be not entitled to it, obviously, but the one that would be most deserving.
And I would agree with Kevin.
So maybe putting them at 210 for now, or the 215 you suggested, some slight bump that demonstrates that they were our number one agency.
Would everybody be comfortable if we move them to 210?
I'm fine with that.
Dr. Thomas?
I'm good.
Bernie?
I didn't, somebody else responded for me, sounds like.
I'm sorry, I probably did, but I was on mute. I'm fine at 210.
And Kevin, you're good at 210?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll go to 210 there. Let's go to our second one, number 2. Big brothers, big sisters. Anybody want to push them up a little bit? Anybody just saying, hey, I think they just need to really understand they need to do a better application? My biggest heartburn with them, and this is me sharing, at some point they got to get their data right, and they've got plenty of data, but they're doing the work. And obviously they're out there beating the bushes, getting additional resources. I would not have a heartburn to taking them to $20,000 or $21,000, but I'm not sure I would fully fund them because at some point they need to, they've got resources available to them as well. And whether we like it or not, some agencies have 0 resources, but they're still doing good work.
How about we move them to 22?
I'm not going to beat myself up over that.
Yeah, that I could go with 22 for them.
Kevin?
I'm fine with that. Again, I'm sort of on the mindset that they should be fully funded as our second agency, but I understand that they have gotten dinged a couple years in a row, and we want to make sure that they understand that they need to follow up with the review team's comments. So what the problem I see us facing, and we can cross this bridge when we get there, is we have money left over. It seems to me that this one should be fully funded before we start funding frontline or AMI at any level. But we'll see if that even is.
Okay, so everybody's good at 22 at this point, though.
At this point, yes.
Let's do 22. So number 3 is Big Bend Homeless Coalition. They didn't ask for anything else. Nobody wants to take money away from them, do we?
No, I think they're fine.
No, I'd leave them as is.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to number 4. Does anybody want to make an argument to give them additional money? I think the cost per client is ridiculously low. I think they are serving a need since there's nobody else serving that group in that housing community.
I'm okay with giving them more. And mainly because they are serving a population that nobody else is serving right now. So I could see a bump for them. 40. I think
Kevin?
This is another one I would be comfortable with fully funding them. I think they're doing great work, and I think they're our 4th ranked team.
And I could fully fund them, Kevin, at this point, and let's see what happens. But yeah.
Kathy?
I would say top them out at 40 for now and see how it goes.
Would everybody be okay at 40?
I agree with Kathy.
Shelley, did we ask? We got you, didn't we? Was that a nod? Okay. So let's do 40. Okay, going on to number 5. What is it? Oasis. Okay. Our biggest thing is we got to be able to understand that we have some dings on them. Any real major heartburn though? Everybody? No comment?
Kind of do, just because I think their issues are been the same. And I know they keep saying they're going through a transition, but you can't keep going through a transition every time you do these grants.
I'm with you on that, to be honest with you. I feel like they kind of skate by because they do good work, but
Yeah.
that's not enough.
And our comments are pretty clear on them, so.
Anybody feel like we need to move them up, or can we leave them where they are?
I would leave them where they are.
Kevin, Kathy?
I'm fine with that for now.
Yeah, that's fine, unless you just want to move them to even 30.
Okay. Well, y'all want to make it 30 just a minute? It's pretty.
Fine with that, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Number 6, Lincoln Boxing. Now, my personal view on this, they need some help.
I was just gonna say the same thing. I think we were very generous on this one.
My initial assessment is to cut them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And my initial number was 40, because I'm trying to be understanding. But I wouldn't have a problem cutting them more.
I was thinking 40 as well.
Kevin?
I think that's a lot. I mean, I think that's a hard for an agency like this to recover from that kind of cut when we're their only source of funding. I'm not against a cut, but I would maybe suggest maybe only 50 or something less than 20,000, or almost a third of their budget.
Yeah, maybe you do 50.
50? I could do 50. Yes.
They need to understand that. I think we put in the issues that we had with them, right?
Yes, we did. Yes.
Let's move to number 7. Okay, look, is anybody advocating for giving these people money?
I'm not.
I'm not.
My biggest issue was that they said last year their budget was 15 and this year it was 50. And they really did not say anything about that increase.
They didn't justify it. And I mean, I know they mentioned that he was gonna start getting a salary, but I struggle with that one.
My initial reaction is not to fund them, in all honesty. I just want to make sure I didn't miss something. I mean, I'm pulling my notes again. What did we say on our evaluation about them?
They didn't provide an average cost.
This is the one.
Recommend that they agency develops its overall capacity. Application was insufficient, and the admin cost was 25%. No fundraising.
No fundraising. Unclear agency is operating. The budget worksheets differ from the amount noted on the program's budget.
So there's,
I think that's enough to justify not funding them.
Yeah, I think we more can just very easily
Yeah, I don't see
just
the real. I mean, how can we feel comfortable funding them? Because we're not going to give them 50, and we're not going to give them 25. So, what's the point here, right?
Yeah, I could not fund it.
Kevin?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. What about what was the last one? At risk.
My kids.
Yeah.
Move
I'm
this
just-
up a little bit.
Scroll down so we can see the number one, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
I mean, this is interesting because we ranked them lower, but I feel like looking at the comments, they're not nearly as harsh as what we said for frontline. So I would actually be more inclined to give AMI kids some funding. But
Well, remember, the ranking is just for us to talk about. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only thing that drives everything.
yeah, I agree.
So,
I think we all though have mentioned in there that, you know, our fear is that their stability of being able to even with such a significant reduction in their funding source, you know, our concern is their ability to thrive.
yeah, and I don't think that they're going from a budget of 779,000 to 190,000.
And with all due respect, if even if we, let's say we just per se funded them at half, I mean, that's not even a person to be able to take care of people here. And then you still don't even really kind of know where their other funding has come from if they get funding.
Well, let's pull the funding side aside for a second. Do we even feel comfortable with what they're doing?
I'm not sure I quite understand.
Do what they were doing.
And that's where I have the heartburn. At the end of the day, the funding part is important to me because I'm a numbers guy. But at the end of the day, I don't think they even had a clue, at least what they put on the application as to what they're doing.
Yeah,
During their presentation, it was like that.
yeah. It seemed they had lost this funding. This was an avenue to try and get something, but they didn't really describe it to a point that I'm comfortable.
And that's not what I got out of it. Kevin?
Yeah, I too had questions with regard to what their new program is going to look at. And, you know, this is an organization that's been around for a while, not a brand new organization. So maybe that's why I felt a little more comfort in them than some of the other new organizations. But I completely agree. I was not clear on what the program that they are going to be providing was going to be going forward. So I understand if the team doesn't want to fund.
Okay, well, let's go at 0. Let's see what we have left over. And let's start adding to the pot other places. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Pull the screen down for us so we can see everything. Okay, here we go. So we've got about $60,000 left. Or pull the screen up. And get rid of the ones that we're not using. You can get rid of Frontline. And you can get rid of AMI, if you would. Okay, now,
Is Pat still on here by chance, or she's gone away?
Nope, she's there.
She is. Okay.
I'm right here. I'm listening. I was trying to, do you need to ask me a question, Shelley?
But I know people are going to laugh when I say this, so please, I know you probably never had this question before. If we were just comfortable where we were at, I'm not saying we are, but if we just, and we had that extra in our piggy bank, what happens to that extra in our piggy bank?
Well,
I'm not saying we are, I'm just asking.
yeah, I mean, in this environment, probably,
They would look at us like we're crazy, and I know that.
yeah. No, I mean, it'll probably be going, some of it would go into appeals in case there was an agency appeal throughout CHSP and the agency won the appeal. Or I may look at other, you know, we've been probably this year, either it would go into appeals or we would probably put this money into some fundamental basic needs on that.
And I don't know if anybody else wanted to ask that question. I just was curious.
I've been asked that question many times.
Okay.
So that's what it would probably, first appeals first in case agency one day appeal. And then secondly, what I would be thinking about is trying to put more money into some of those basic needs, emergency type services, because that's where the highest demand is right now.
and Shelley, I've been on a couple teams where we've given money back at the end. I mean, we were comfortable with the dollars we had, so it's not
Right. Okay, well, good. I didn't want anybody to think that I was lost my mind.
Now, the question though, seriously though, as we look at this though, is there some place that we figure we'll get the best bang for our buck at this point? Because we're talking about our top 6 programs. Is there a place that we want to add? Let's look at the one program we cut. We cut Lincoln Center. Do we think we need to add money to Lincoln Center, or is everybody leaving it where it is? I'm comfortable leaving it where it is.
I'm comfortable where we are.
Too. I'm comfortable.
Kevin?
If anything, I could see maybe, I know we're surely not looking at funding the Boys and Girls Club fully, but maybe adding a little bit there. Just because that, I mean, that is a pretty big, I know that we've gone over what they've asked for in the year prior to, but we're still 60,000 less than what they asked for an increase.
Would you say, before we do that, would you entertain fully funding Love by Jesus first? It's only additional $3,800.
Which one?
Love by Jesus.
I mean, I'm okay with that. Well, is anybody not okay with that?
Fully funding them?
It's only an additional $3,800 for where we have.
I'm okay with fully funding Love by Jesus.
Yeah, I am too. I could fully fund them.
Did we lose Kevin?
No, I'm here too. I agree with that.
Okay.
Let's fully fund them.
What about, okay, remember the number for Boys and Girls Club was 230. If I remember on their application, they said that would be their critical number if they didn't get fully funded. Do we want to take them to that point?
To 230?
Or is everybody comfortable where we are? Is there anybody that's advocating, anybody that's left that we can talk about?
I still think we should consider fully funding Oasis Center and Big Brothers Big Sisters, or at least get closer to their ask than we are now.
Okay. You want to, but are you comfortable sending a message that they need to improve?
Yes. And I think we do that in our comments, but I understand the dollars speak louder.
Okay. Where are we?
Well, I mean, even if you look at the Oasis, we only dropped them $5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 15% of the request. I mean, I was thinking, jumping them up closer to 34 and Big Brothers up to 24. Again, that's $3,000-$4,000, and we have 55,000 remaining.
Let's start with Oasis for me. Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Would you be okay with 23 and 32.5?
Yes.
Okay. Would everybody be okay with that?
Yes.
Shelley?
Yeah.
You look like you weren't too sure there.
Yeah, that's fine with me too.
Everybody okay with those numbers then? And then what do we want to give? Did we give, so what did we decide? Oh, Boys and Girls Club. Do we want to take them to 230?
I think we should at least.
Yeah, I agree, 230. If that was their critical number, we rank them number one. They should-
Let's make sure that was their number.
With the Oasis.
Say that again?
Did she make the change with the Oasis? I don't see
No, it's supposed to be 30.
32.5.
500, yeah.
Now let's see what we got.
We still have 32 left over, which I think is fine.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with what we've done.
If anybody, seriously though, everybody, go back and look. Because we do have money, but again, I think at the same token, just because they're doing a good job does not justify poor performance. In terms of the application and understanding, they've got to do better. They just do. And in all honesty, the two agencies that we're looking at, and we've taken a little money from, well, I don't want to say take money from because they didn't have it to begin with, didn't fully fund. The reality is they have additional resources. Where in terms of
we're funding them at higher levels than they were before. So
exactly.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
You can also look at the percentage of increase. So That's
I
a,
was just gonna say, yeah.
just something, yeah, that's another.
I mean, because look at, and I'm not saying Love by Jesus is not worth it by any means, but we raised theirs 37%. But then we ranked our number one and our number two. Well, even our number two, we raised them 21%. But then
But take into account the dollar that we're talking about for,
right.
Yeah.
we were talking literally 30,000, 30 was Boys and Girls Club. We're 30, almost $28,000 higher, which is almost as much as some of these guys' budgets. So
Right.
I think the percentage is a little deceiving in this exercise.
It is.
Yeah.
We're funding our 6th ranked team more than we're funding, 2, 3, 4. I mean, and that's fine.
Wise.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
everybody comfortable? Because that's the most important thing. We got to all be in agreement.
I'm fine.
Kevin?
So, I mean, what is the proposal now that we're going to just give we're not going to give the 32,000 at all, the remaining balance?
Yeah, it just goes back to the city. Pat, you're going to use it, right?
Yes, we will.
You guys have an opportunity to use it, correct?
Yes, I believe so. I'm at that point. I mean, because you have it, if folks have not earned it, you have to, so you have to kind of look at that for allocations as well. And I'm also, quite frankly, when if an organization has been told over and over again to make corrections and they don't, you have to understand that when you guys keep funding them at the same level or higher, we can't enforce anything very much as a staff for accountability. So whatever you do is fine.
So you guys don't want to add any more to Big Brothers, or not, excuse me, to Boys and Girls Club?
Only because I know they have reserves and they can put everybody else, and they're actually down in terms of.
Yeah, I do. I would like to see a raise them, even if it was an additional 10.
I go back, they got 200,000 cash on hand, $85,000 in reserves.
I don't think they said they had 200 in the reserves.
No, they have 200 in cash on hand, 85,000 in their reserves.
Have 85,000 in reserve, and their goal is 100,000, so that they're trying to get fiscally sound, so they'll have at least 10 or 15% of their operating budget for sustainability. Just to
They
give you.
also said they had $200,000 in the bank, cash on hand.
No.
I'm looking at my notes. They said 200,000 cash on hand, 85,000 in
I
reserve.
think that's what they wanted to go to.
No, at the reserve they want to raise their cash on hand is a different number for them. Because if you go to their, I'll show you. Hold on. Pull it up. $200 cash on hand, 85,000 in reserves.
Does anyone else have that in your notes? I do have that. The goal is 100,000 by October.
Reserves.
It's hard to tell because their financial statements are 2 years old. So I don't remember the number. So I'm stuck to looking at their financial statements, and I don't see the 200 on cash on hand.
Yeah, well, it is 2 years old, so.
Right, exactly. So I don't know what to say on that one.
I guess my issue here is because we have the money, is that why we're funding them? Or we feel comfortable with they can get through with what's going on? That's what it boils down to. And I'm probably more inclined to keep them at about 230, especially based off the fact we did not ask the question about the salary for the ED and for the next director. The significant increases.
They are, but when you look and see that they've actually combined some people and adding additional things, I mean, I know we didn't ask the questions, but I don't think we can penalize them for that either. And we talk about, we speak to them about, they're impressive on their reserve and building sustainability. So, and literally what we're giving them is just going to sustain them. That's not going to help them or provide any additional things for them, because the 230 is just going to be bare bone for them to get through.
I would recommend giving them an extra 12, leaving 20 in the pot.
Did anybody remember they also got PPP funding? So they had monies come in to help cover some of their overhead. I'm not trying to penalize them, but in the same token, they're running a fairly decent ship. And they're at 80% capacity right now. Now, what they'll do over the next 2 years, they'll get back up to 100%, but penalizing them. They're off than they were last year, and the reserves are better than last year. So they were able to save money over the last 2 years, build up their reserves, and they got PPP money, which they don't have to pay back.
They don't have to pay back if they meet all the required documentation. We don't know if
That's true, we don't.
they're going to be able to do that or not.
But if they have to do it as a loan, it's still an extremely small pay over a whole period of time, well, 5-year period of time.
I would be okay with what Kathy had said, giving back the 20,000 and help them 12.
I'll just say this, I don't think any agency that's seeing an increase in their funding from last cycle is going to feel like they're being penalized. I mean, having my involvement with agencies is they're all doing backflips when they get more than they got. So, I mean, we did increase them $30,000 over last time. I think we all sort of didn't fully understand what the justification was for the $73,000 increase. So I feel pretty comfortable for where we're at. But another thing just to throw out there, and I don't know if anyone has any feelings on this, is because we have the funds left over, I mean, we are essentially gutting this frontline project program. Would anyone entertain or think about funding them at the $15,000 level, or maybe even a little less than that, which is what their original budget was? This was an organization that was previously funded last year, and for reasons that the city of Tallahassee or the police department thought was a good idea.
But Kevin, they weren't even really able to justify what they did with the 15. You kind of go back and look, in a sense.
I thought in our conversations that the 50 wasn't justified, but that we could see some of the purchases for curriculum and other items that were related to the Saturday morning 2 hours. And that's sort of what I'm.
We did, and I think Dr. had mentioned that she could potentially see the 12,000, those kind of things.
Wasn't that the GED testing or something?
Yeah, she did. She mentioned that.
But I think they also had to pay for curriculum for the services that the sessions that they're providing on Saturday morning.
That's true.
Yeah, if we gave them money, I'm not what we're trying to do, but we could dictate where that money goes exactly, right?
Can I dictate where that money goes? I mean, it'll probably be a bit of a struggle.
And see, their overhead is 25%.
That was the other thing they were.
I don't see funding them, to be honest. And I think the other side of it is, because we have the extra money, if we didn't have the $32,000, we would be comfortable with the numbers that we have. I just don't see where Boys and Girls Club is doing that exceptional a job that they need the additional monies.
So I agree with keeping boys and girls where they are and not funding frontline.
Yeah, I can't fund frontline. think they,
Sheila?
I just have a little bit of heartburn giving 32,000 back.
Trust me, the city's gonna use it. I mean, you're not gonna throw it away. Are you, Pat?
I can't repurpose it. I can't use it in my operating budget. That's separate from CHSP allocation. So it's not gonna go into in our operating budget. It has to be used for services. But that's up to you guys as a group to make that the recommendations.
Yeah, I guess it's just unfortunate because I think that $425,000 in funding is necessary for youth services in our community. And it's unfortunate that we're not getting maybe the programs making those requests. But so I wouldn't want anyone to think that we give back $32,000, that it was because it was not needed in our community, because it really is. And that's maybe what's giving me a little bit of heartburn about that as well.
And I think the problem.
Exactly.
I think the problem is the
The
organization.
$32,000 that we have left over, can it also go to other teams? I mean, maybe there were some other teams that had needed additional funding. And we don't use all of ours, but maybe Team 7 needed some additional funding. Or is that a possibility? At the end of the day?
That's probably what I mean. That would probably be the reality, because on community support team, they didn't have enough money to adequately fund some of the programs they wanted to. But then those agencies would have the opportunity to appeal, because they can say, for example, that the cut that they had substantially prohibits their ability to effectively administer their program. So they could come with that plea. That's part of the appeals process. But that was the team.
Us having some funds left over, because there's still a possibility that there are some agencies that could benefit from those resources. So leaving that amount of money in the pot is good for me.
Is there a way we could do the big boys and girls club at 37.5? That's increasing them half of what they requested additional, and that still leaves us like 25 in the pot.
who did you say?
You know, looking at Boys and Girls Club, they asked for 275, but if we could increase them to 237,500, that would be half of what they additional money they asked for, but still leave us approximately 25 in the bucket still.
I have a
I'm
quick
concerned that when a person does not give us all of the data that we need, for example, the outdated audit report has an impact on the funding, because they didn't provide us with all the data that we needed to have.
You're right, but we were only giving them half of their increase.
Well, that's good. So they're getting half. That's great.
So do the 37.5?
No.
Okay, let me ask this question, Pat. If with you guys, when you guys go next in 2 years, if our number is 392 versus 406 or whatever, that has no impact, or does it have an impact on how much is allocated to this team going forward? The question is,
It's a good question.
Clearly there was a need, but the problem was three of our programs just had poor applications and didn't look like they were not going to manage the program. So it's not that there's not a need for the money in this area. It's just we got poor applicants for the money, and we were concerned that they weren't going to do a good job. We're not trying to throw money. Wait, will this impact you going forward to get money for this team, though? In all honesty,
It could. I don't want to tell you mistruth. It could impact it, because once those programs are funded, whatever level they're funded, that money goes with that agency and that program. Just like here, the money, the current allocation for that agency is on this team. So it could.
So you're saying that 2 years from now, instead of having 425,000, the fact that we only spent 392, they could allocate only 395 for this team.
That's a possibility, unless they put additional money into CHSP overall, and that would increase all teams.
Okay,
It could.
okay. I'm looking at it differently.
With that, and then we should go on and do the increase then.
Yeah, because I definitely do not want the team provide the groups that provide this kind of service to be impacted 2 years from now with a much lower allocation. So,
Kevin, are you okay with that?
And
I think that's giving me the heartburn about giving back the 32.
Right. I agree with that. I think we need to make that pot a little bit smaller that we give back. I don't think we need to allocate all of it, but I think we need to make that pot giving back a little bit smaller.
Okay,
the fact that that could be impacted does make a difference to me.
it does to me as well. Yes, definitely.
Okay, so what,
Is it Shelley that had a recommendation or was it Kathy? I can't.
so what did you recommend, Kathy?
Originally, I said if we would just give 12 to Boys and Girls Club, that would leave the pot at 20. But I think Shelley said increase them 7.5 and it would leave it at 25. So however we want to split the hair.
I would also propose adding 5 back to Lincoln Center and putting them at 55 and 60.
60. Yep.
Everybody
Go
good?
with that.
I agree.
Okay. They'll get the message. So we're gonna go 237.50. Is that what we decided?
Yeah, try that and see what it brings us to.
Everybody good?
Okay, let me see.
Well, keeping in mind what Pat said about the funding, do we want to try to just give it all away? Not have anything left over?
No, I don't think that's really an issue. We're right in line.
Kevin, what are you thinking? You kind of have a perplexed look on your face.
No, I agree. I don't want to just dole out the money because we have it. I don't think that's a good precedent for us to set.
Good practice.
And while I think there is bits of merit to frontline and AMI kids that I would like to give them something, if they haven't followed the process, then we're sort of, our hands are tied. And so I'm comfortable with where we're at. Not happy about it, but I'm comfortable with it.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's kind of, I think that's the whole point, is not to be happy, but we can live with it.
Right.
And now I know this is a pain in the butt right here, but we're about $1,060 something off from last year's total. Do we want to match that, or we're okay?
For who?
That's not going to be that big a variance, is it? $1,000.
From the 406 to the 405?
that's up to you. That's up to you how you do that. That would make it level funding. And I hear you guys. I can understand you got such a dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should keep the level funding, and I don't mind kicking whatever that extra $1,000 to Boys and Girls Club. That would make sense.
I agree with that.
Level funding for whom?
Not level funding, we're just trying to keep the
Overall funds.
last year's.
We want the line to total 420. So whatever it costs to increase Boys and Girls Club, so that our total is 406, 420.
Let me do the math real quick.
1072, add 1072. Add 1,072.
To whom? To what agency?
To Boys and Girls Club.
572, 238, 572.
Can you repeat the number, please? I'm so sorry. I can barely hear you. Very
238,
garbled.
572. No, not add, I'm sorry. 1,072.
He gave you the total.
1,072, add 1,070.
1,072?
I think that's right. Let's see how close we get. Oh, look at her.
Is that what you wanted?
Is everybody okay?
Yeah.
Looks good.
So the only thing we have to finish up between now and tomorrow is senior assessments in.
And
Okay. So guys, thanks a lot. I think you did a great job. You had to work with what you have, right? And so I think you did a great job making decisions. We may get an appeal on this team. So I think you, Kevin, and William, you probably need to be prepared for a possible appeal from Frontline Project. And that's probably the only agency that has the right to appeal on your committee.
Pat, can they appeal since they didn't get CHSP funding last time? They just got city funding?
They got grandfathered in because their allocation came with them. So they're grandfathered in, so they do have a right to an appeal.
That's okay. I've never lost an appeal.
Which is, it is,
yeah, I think we can defend what we did with them.
And of course, I'll have the letters fully written and developed so that if there's an appeal, I'll give you all of the award letters for the agencies that you are on your team. And so you will have that data to discuss, as well as the application itself, right? So if you had to go before the appeals committee, you would have all the information you need.
Sounds good.
Okay. So all you guys, thanks a lot, Ms. Bernice. I see you stayed on, huh? Because of the rain and the thundering. We actually made it through for the last 2 days. So, hey guys,
it's bad. It really,
yesterday was really bad yesterday. So thank you guys. I can't thank you enough. I know this was a hard job, even made a lot harder on the WebEx doing it online. So can't thank you enough. We couldn't have done this job without you. We actually finished. We have done. We will have finished all 10 citizen review teams next Tuesday. We actually did all 10 teams in 1 month. So this is a marathon. We've been on a marathon, and unfortunately, it's been stormy, so I can't get out and exercise. That's the way I deal with these marathon days. I go out and take a 2 or 3 mile hike, but I've been stuck inside for 2 days. This will be my second day.
Well, finally you're working sometime during the year. That's good.
What was that, William?
I said, finally we're getting some work out of you.
I'm told I'm one of the hardest working people that folks know.
You keep telling me that, Pat.
And I will stand by those kind of positive comments directed at me.
I won't be slipping your way.
Am I right? Am I right, Dr. Thomas?
Yes, you are. You are. Yes, absolutely.
I'm doing virtual hugs, so everybody, this is my virtual hug to you.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Virtual hugs. I don't get to touch people like I normally do. You know, I'm a hugger.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's a different touch. I like I tell you guys, I love working with you. You're like one of the favorite parts of my job is working with the community. And listening how you guys think is always so fascinating for me. And your different personalities that you bring to the table is very interesting.
And different personalities.
Yeah, you really do. And it's kind of like it is. We have proven why diversity on boards are work effectively, right? Because if you have common thinking, you will have common solutions, right?
Yeah.
You can't think out of the box if you're in the box. And if everybody is in the box, you stay in the box. So it all makes good sense that diversity is the richest thing for our country as we're fighting about race relations. When in reality, we're one race of people. We're human beings. And our merit is based on who we are as human beings, as persons, our character. That's what defines our merit in this world to me.
Yeah.
Having worked with people from all diverse backgrounds and having a multiracial family myself, I hope that we all can get to a point in this country where we truly celebrate diversity and understand that that is a gift.
It is a gift.
It's a rich gift. It is. There's no deficit to this at all. And so,
Well said.
thanks a lot. I know Kevin came on board, I think, in Leadership Tallahassee. So he's been staying ever since. And now he's actually on a couple of the agency's board of directors. So he really understands CHSP backwards and forward in a way, in a whole different perspective.
Full dose of CHSP this year, for sure, on both sides.
You got a good dose of it. And because he has his agencies are, also on different teams. So Kathy, Shelley, Kevin, Bernice, Dr. Patty Thomas, and William. And we want to thank you for leading us as a group, and always appreciate your wonderful leadership skills. He's much more polite on camera than he is in person. I want you guys to know. For those who have not served with him on a team, you're only getting a glimpse of his full personality.
I'm always sweet.
Great job, William. You did a great job.
Everybody.
Thanks a lot, William. We appreciate every one of you. So, my prayers are to you and your families as we all go through the struggle together, and hope that everyone comes out shining and bright, and we see a better day. And we have to have hope that things will get better, and we have to get out and do whatever it takes to make sure that our country is a better country.
That's right.
All of us have to contribute to that.
Good luck, Pat.
Thank you so much. So
Thank you.
take care.
Working with you guys.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.
It's a pleasure. All right.
Bye.